Hello, YouTube channel. So I have had this idea for quite some time. The idea is to do book reviews. And I have been like watching them more often on TikTok. Not so much on YouTube, sometimes like Instagram Reels. And every time I come across it, I'm like, oh my god, I want to be that person doing it, you know? Now, here's the thing. I am not much of a reader. So, I used to read a lot when I was younger. Um, I don't know why that's something common among people where they like used to read when they were kids and then they stopped for years and then whatever. But yeah, that was me. I used to like read a bunch of books when I was younger. I still have most of them. And then I think around like age 12 and 13, I just stopped and I would only read like whatever, assigned readings I had for school. But from 13 up to like 20, okay, no, maybe not 20. I would say 13 up to 18, I genuinely like did not pick up a book on my own and choose to read it. And then, so what happened at 18 was I was going through like a rough patch with high school. And then I was in 11th grade. I was repeating my last 2 years of high school. Fun fact about me, I repeated. And it was a new school, and I was like devastated. I was so scared and nervous and everything. But I had a great English teacher. And we were assigned to read Crime and Punishment. And I absolutely fell in love with it. So that's how I got back into it story. I don't know what it was, but I just felt like I would sit there and make it my my like task to give it as much attention as it needs for like at least an hour a day. And it's a big book, and it's such a weird book to start with when you're getting back into reading. But I just fell in love with it, and it made me realize like reading is such a beautiful thing. And then we read Brave New World, and that one was like also great. What else did we read? We read The Tempest by Shakespeare, but it's whatever. Okay, I had to take a break because my phone ran out of storage, so we're back. Had to delete a bunch of stuff. But anyway, yeah, those were the books we read 11th grade. And then 12th grade, I had a different teacher, and she was also great. We read Woman at Point Zero and The Handmaid's Tale. And we read Persepolis. Very feminist readings, but I enjoyed it a lot. Woman at Point Zero was also one of those books that were like, wow, guys, this is bad. I wish I had a mic. I live with roommates, so can't do anything about it. I don't have a mic. Hopefully you can hear me. But yeah, Woman at Point Zero was fucking insane. Like, that book was another one of those books that was like, whoa, like, I love that. I mean, obviously it's an extremely sad book, but it really, really, really made me feel something. And yeah, anyway, that got me into reading, and then I started to slowly get into the habit of like going into bookstores and wanting to purchase a book. And that's how it started. But a big part of getting me back into reading was also, and I'm very lucky for this, but going to London so often. And the reason behind that is, I don't know what it is, or why it is this way, but there's a huge like reading culture in London, and maybe across the UK, but I just haven't been to other parts of the UK. But it's just like everywhere you go, you see people reading a book, especially like on the train, and it just inspired me so much. And there's bookstores literally everywhere. Everywhere you go, there's a bookstore, and it's just, and there's like secondhand books that are like so cheap, and I love that. But anyway, I was in London recently and I picked up a book right here. This is it. And I want to talk about it. So this is what this video is going to be. Doing a book review, my first one. Actually, not really. I've done a book review on Notes from Underground on this YouTube channel, but I just didn't really intentionally say like I'm doing a book review. No, I just was doing it for fun. So this I'm just genuinely saying this is a book review. So this book is called Self-Help by, I don't know how to say this name, Lorrie Moore. So let me tell you just a little bit of context, I guess. So when this was written, it's actually a pretty old book. It looks so like modern, so new, but it's actually, hold on, I don't want to edit this, please don't take too long. 1985. Yeah, and she's an American writer. Now I was in Owl bookstore on Kentish Town in London, right? And I was looking at the books and I saw it and it seemed really interesting. Maybe it really hit me that, like, reading the first few pages, because I related so much to the way that it was written, like the language that was used, and I felt like, wow, this feels like a friend talking to me, like texting me like an update about her life, and it just drew my attention. But I was a bit broke, so I put it back and I didn't buy it. But then I kept thinking about it for like the next 2 days. I was like, I really want to continue reading it. So I went to Waterstones, another bookstore in London, and I bought it. So I'm gonna share a little bit. I'll try to keep it a little bit brief, not too boring, whatever. It's really hard to explain what books are about, especially for me. Like, I don't really know how to, like, when people ask me, I'm like, bro, I don't know, and I just start rambling. So I'm gonna try to make it like not too rambly. So this book very much feels like a diary, and fuck, I forgot her name. The diary of this woman, right? Who I forgot her name. Great, perfect. Didn't plan this out at all. Let me pause. So apparently her name is Francie. I don't know why I forgot that. It's not mentioned. No, it's Trudy. Why does, bro, AI is so stupid, bro. Why, AI told me Francie, but then I looked down on Wikipedia and it's Trudy, and that's what I remember. I remember it being Trudy. Okay, so it's Trudy. So it's a bunch of time slots in her life, and they're kind of placed randomly, and each chapter is kind of based on a specific time slot in her life, but she doesn't tell us like what age she's at, like in this time slot of her life. You kind of just figure it out. Like, at some point she's married with children, but at some point she's having an affair with a guy, and at some point she's like in college, figuring out like whether she wants to become a writer. And it's so random, and this book is very much, I feel like, representative of just life struggles and people's thoughts, and just kind of, it's kind of like if you were to put this in a movie, you're just watching like life happening. And I love these kinds of stories where there's not much of a plot. It's more of just, this is the human experience, you know? And I don't want to explain it too much, but if I will read some stuff from the book that I underlined, I will try to like look through it and read random parts. But if what I said resonates with you, go and read this book. It's very, very relatable. And it's kind of like she says her thoughts as they are, even when they seem so bad, like bad thoughts. But then you realize, like, these are very normal thoughts and we all have them. But what you know, the difference is that we don't think about writing these down or sharing them. And what's so beautiful about fiction is that you can literally write your own story and write the most crazy shit that you think about or say or do in your life, and then you can call it fiction, and nobody will ever know if this is real or not, you know? This is called self-help, and that's why I picked it up, because it was in the fiction section. Like, I'm not a big fan of self-help books. I used to be when I was first getting back into reading, but then I realized it's kind of bullshit. Sorry, like, I know some people are fans of self-help books, but once you get into the world of fiction, you're like, wow, you know? Because in a way, fiction is self-help, okay? It's helping you. It's just not directly telling you what to do, but it's helping you genuinely learn things and realize things. So, where was I? That's why I picked it up, because it's literally called self-help and it's in the fiction section. I was like, that's so interesting. And what was I saying? Yeah, so that's what I mean. Like, I don't know how to explain it very well. It's just like this woman, like, there's this, the first chapter is about her kind of telling us her thoughts about how she feels like having an affair with a guy. And she knows it. She knows that she knows that he's married, and she doesn't feel guilty or anything. She knows that this is wrong, but she still continues to do it. And she tells us how she slightly feels ashamed about telling her colleague or coworker that she's having an affair. And then they go out for lunch, and she tells her, like, what do you think about this? And the coworker's name is Hilda, and Hilda tells her, like, oh yeah, I've done that before, but just don't let it go on for too long. And it's just like, you know, when you're reading this, you're like, why do I, like, what is this, how is this helping me? But it's so beautiful. I think she's a great writer. I think the way that she words things is so, like, funny, whimsical, stupid. I can read a part from that first chapter. I do want to share something that I really like in the way that she writes. She basically, her strategy in writing this book is, she is somebody, so this is POV, right? I took a fiction class, and that's why I know this term. And that's why I was interested in thinking about this. So when we look at fiction and try to analyze it, we look at POV, right? So the POV of this book is basically, POV means point of view. I'm sure most people know that, but yeah. The POV is her in the future looking back at her past life, and she's telling herself, go like this. So let's say you went to a zoo and you were on a date with a guy. So these events already happened in the past, but this is her future self looking back and say, go like this, do this, hold his hand, look at him when he looks away, stare at his neck. She says that. So she's actually talking to herself throughout the whole book while telling the story of some of the events that happened in her life. Isn't that so interesting? I think that's lovely. I didn't really underline much in the beginning because I didn't feel like doing that. But I did take a photo of this last page of the first chapter. In April, you get a raise. Celebrate by taking Hilda to lunch at the plaza. Write for applications to graduate school. Send Mark the banker a birthday card. Take long walks at night in the cold. The blonde in the barrettes scuttles timelessly by you, still carrying her shoes. She has cut her hair. He calls you occasionally at the office to ask how you are. You doodle numbers and curlicues on the corner of the Rolodex cards. Fiddle with your Phi Beta Kappa key. Stare out the window. You always say, fine. So as you can see, I don't know how to read out loud, clearly. It's very different than when you read to yourself. But yeah. A week, a month, a year, the sadness will die like an old dog. You will feel nothing but indifference. There's a chapter called How to Talk to Your Mother, Notes. And she tells us how her mother was dying of an illness, and she was just watching that happen. And in this chapter, she starts with the year 1982, and then every small paragraph is going back a year. So it's 1982, 1981, 1980, and it goes all the way back to 1939. And that's the chapter of How to Talk to Your Mother. She goes from like her current age all the way until she was a child. Let me see if there's anything that caught my eye here. At a party, when a woman tells you where she bought some wonderful pair of shoes, say that you believe shopping for clothes is like masturbation. Everyone does it, but it isn't very interesting and therefore should be done alone, in an embarrassed fashion, and never be the topic of party conversation. Bro, I underlined this. It's so funny. Yeah, I just found that so funny because it's like, we all dress in a certain way and we don't want to tell anyone where we got our shit because we want to be cool and interesting. And then I underlined, go for walks to get away from her. She was referring to her mother. Get your hair chopped short as a boy's. I feel like most people have this phase in their life. Moonlight through the blinds stripes you like zebras. You laugh. You never marry. You feel many different emptinesses. People and places you think you love may be people and places you hate. You buy a car and a green velvet dress you don't need. God, I underlined so many things. Tell your mother about all the books you are reading at college. This will please her. Okay. There's another chapter that really caught my attention. A Kid's Guide to Divorce. I don't know, maybe I related it so much because I relate to it, like my parents are divorced. But there's another chapter which I loved, and it's called How to Become a Writer. And as somebody who's interested in becoming a writer, it was quite an interesting chapter. My favorite part is the very beginning. First, try to be something, anything else. A movie star astronaut, a movie star / missionary, a movie star / kindergarten teacher, president of the world. Fail miserably. It is best if you fail at an early age, say 14. Early, critical disillusionment is necessary so that 15 you can write long haiku sequences about thwarted desire. I wrote, that's so me, bro, to this. Wonder how the hell you ended up here. Perhaps it is fate. Perhaps this is what your dad meant when he said, it's the age of computers, Francie. It's the age of computers. Some are smarter than you, and some you notice are dumber than you. She was right. This was her referring to something she wrote for her creative writing class, and I underlined this. You read the whole thing out loud in class. No one likes it. Me. That happened to me. I'm kidding. So this is her saying, okay, so her advisor tells her that she's neglecting courses in her major. And she wrote this, say, yes, you understand. That's me. That is me. My advisor tells me you are taking too many classes that you don't need. And I'm like, yes, I will remove them. And then I don't remove them and I ended up taking them. I underlined switch majors because that is me. Why write? Where does writing come from? These are questions to ask yourself. They are like, where does dust come from? Or why is there war? Or if there's a God, if there's a God, then why is my brother now a cripple? Be glad you are not just a writer. Apply to law school. And then you spend a good big chunk of your adult life telling people how you decided not to go to law school after all. And then there's a chapter called To Fill. And I'm not gonna lie, I haven't finished the book. I'm in my last few pages. But I started this at the start of winter break, and I'm almost done with it. So this is a really easy, light read. If you're interested in the topic, I think you can really get through it. I'm somebody who genuinely struggles with reading, but I was able to get through it. And yeah, I guess that's the end of my book review. I think this is longer than it should be, but I don't know how to like organize my thoughts. So yes, hope you enjoyed it, and goodbye.